Just to preface, this is going to be a longer format video. Go ahead and click here. Go to the second part. We'll be talking about the runes and charms that I think they should change. Runes, and now we are in the charms section. Click down below to jump to the appropriate section. What up, Axie fam? I want to preface this as this is going to be a very long format video. I'm going to try to remember to put the timestamps in the description down below, and you can click on the little chapters to go to the certain sections. But we're going to be talking about what I think they're going to change for the upcoming Season 1 patch. It's right around the corner, so let's get into it. All right, so go through these cards one by one. So Aegis, Anemone might see a little buff. I would like to see Anemone at 60. Right now, you're getting 70 damage in theory. You're getting 20 healing and 50, and you don't have to pay for that 20. So some would say it's in a good spot. If you have like Pure Instinct and you have the damage 6 on this guy, you're hitting for like 66, which is pretty good. So you're getting 66 and 20, so you're getting 86 total. But compared to a lot, it's not that great. So we could see this healing get buffed to 30. We could see this damage get up to 60. Same with the other Anemone. And isn't being used. I think this card is a sleeper. Once people discover the power of 7 out of 7 pure bugs, this card will be very good. It's not quite there yet in the meta. Antana, I think this card could use a little bit of a buff. It's just not doing a whole lot. And there's a lot of bug signal players out there that would love for this card to be more useful than it currently is. I would like to see this 50 shield, 20 healing or something. Arco, I think Arco's in a good place. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think it's going to stay right at 65. Axie Kiss. Axie Kiss arguably could receive a bit of a nerf and go down to 55 damage because you are getting a lot of value out of this. I would like to see this below 75% change the base damage here is where I would like to see Axie Kiss. Babies, I think it's in a good spot. Babylonia is very, very good. Not a lot of playing weak for 4 turns. That is a lot for an offensive ability. Same as Caterpillar. Those 4 turns, same with Balloon. 4 turns. Balloon, I think, is in a good spot. I think Babylonia is in a great spot. Balloon could be bumped up to 65 damage. Same thing with Bamboo Shoot. Same thing with Skelly Spear and some of those others. Trump, I think, could get a little bit of a buff up to a comparable damage. So Beach feels very weak. If we add those two together, divided by 2, you're not getting that much. It's like 80 or whatever, right? 75 plus 90 is 165. Divided by 2 is 82.5. So it's good value, but it feels bad to play. It's not fun to play. It's very, very boring. And so I think they need to rework Beach entirely. It just doesn't feel like a good card to play. Beetle Spike is very good. 45 is very little damage. I think they should bump this up to 55 damage, and that wouldn't be that great. We have Curly doing 65 damage, and it's pure damage, so like it doesn't have like a very good spot. Bleed is very good, so arguably it's doing a lot more than that because it lasts for 2 whole rounds, right? I think 55 would be fine. Beetroot, I think this could go with a little bit of a buff. We want those other starter Axies to see play again, like they were in the Season 0. Believer, I think, is in a good place. 20 damage is good. With the runes and charms, doing like 29. Very good for triggering Fury. Biden's still feels bad, even though it has Retain. I would like this to have an effect, like if you draw it, gives all your Axies like 10 HP, right? It wouldn't be very strong because you wouldn't be drawing it a lot. You would only be drawing it like once, and it's going to sit in your hand most of the time. But having an effect where it like gives all your Axies 10 shields, or gives all your Axies 10 HP, or gives all your Axies a damage increase, a damage buff by 1, something like that. I think it just feels weak. Still feels weak. Blossom, it's fine. Nobody plays it. Blue Moon, I think 65 is good. A little buff there. Bone Cell is very strong. Bookworm, it's fine. Bubba Brush, I think it could use a little bit of a buff. Sometimes it's not doing anything. You're hardly ever gonna get to rage on Bubba unless you're using the one that gives him 4 rage, and it doesn't do any damage. So I think this card and that card could use a little tweak so we could see Bubba see some play in the arena. Bubble Maker is very, very powerful. It's perfect where it's at. Bumpy feels a little medium. I think Bumpy in decks that it's good, it is very good. In decks that it's not good, it is very bad, right? So if you have a deck that's designed around Bumpy, you have watering cans, you have lumber or timber. When you have those, so Incisor feels good. It could be 65. It could be a little bit better. Indian Star feels fine. Inkling feels fine. A lot of people are complaining that the damage is too good when you have like Hardy Warrior and then you have like the 6 damage rune. So Inkling is sometimes hitting for like 78. A lot of people on Reddit seem to think that Inkling could use a nerf, but I think it's fine. I think Confusion could use a buff to make the plants more competitive. Innocent Lamb, this card is nuts. It's so much fun to play. It's perfectly balanced. Sometimes it is good, sometimes it isn't good. Very good on teams that have like you have a beast and then he has Cottontail and you use it to double your Cottontail, or you use it on your Confident so you have 3 Confidents in your deck instead of 2. This card is very fun. I think it's perfect where it's at. Jaguar, this could be 65. Jelly Tackle, this card is fine. Maybe they need to buff it just a little bit to make Puffy back in the competitive scene. This card needs gone. Get rid of this card, or make it to where they can actually use other stuff, you know, like they can use their other junk, not just like everything's disabled, right? This card needs completely reworked. Maybe a different variation of this card would replace, hear me out, Kestrel. If initial, it breaks the horn of the Axie it's used on and turns that card into a revenge card. And then this has banish. So like, say their horn is really important, like Cactus, you use it on their frontliner, and then the Cactus gets taken out of their deck and put in their banish zone and replaced with a revenge card. That would be really fun. Kingfisher, one of the top cards that nobody plays. Koi feels bad. It's just not in a good place. It's hard to like say this needs buffed because then it's like overtuned, and then if it gets nerfed, then it's over tweaked, you know, like nerfed into oblivion. But you want these cards to see play, right? That's the entire objective. So maybe how you would tweak this. Maybe you make the damage like the form of a wave, and so it hits the first Axie and then does bonus damage to all the other Axies. Like almost give this like an AoE effect, right? That would be very interesting to see. Kataro is very good. It can be very bad. I think because of the RNG, I think this is in a good place. I wouldn't be surprised if they change the death mark to 2 turns to nerf it a little bit, or reduce this down to 45 damage. Kataro, a lot of people want to see this card receive banish, but I think Kataro feels fine. The way you counter it is with taunts. If there's a lot of Kataros in the competitive scene, like triple Kataros everywhere, then obviously it would need tweaked. But guess what? You're not seeing triple Kataro in all the competitive scenes. So, and you can counter this with taunts. I mean, maybe that's something to think about. Maybe if our trunk was increased to 91 or 92 HP, then it would be very good against Kataro. Lagging is very good, feels good. Lamb, I think it needs a little bit of a buff. I know that's crazy to say because that'd be 65 plus 20, but you almost never get this trigger. So it feels bad. It's like one of my least favorite competitive cards. Larva feels fantastic. I think they should make it to where if they discard a skill or a secret, to give this a bit of a buff, but this card is bananas. Leaf Bug, very good where it's at. Leaf Bug, same thing, very good where it's at. Once people start playing like pure bugs with double Leaf Bug and Sturdy Fighter, then people will be pissed at how good this card is. Leafy feels good. It's kind of like Tiny Dino. The way I explained it on one of the live streams was Tiny Dino takes like 5 turns to set up. Sometimes Leafy takes 5 turns to set up. You have to put a clover out and you have to defend it, and then you have to get some leaves, and then you have to use Leafy. So it's very hard to set up. So the damage is worth the setup. Does it deserve a nerf? I don't think so. I don't think it will get any changes. Little Branch feels very good. I think it's in a very good spot. It is very strong if you have Little Peas on your team or a Grandma's fan. Little Branch, you're hitting for like 203 sometimes. Oh, feels a little strong, but it is in a good spot. Little Crab's in a fine spot. Little Owl's in a fine spot. So is the other Little Owls. Little Peas might receive a 55 damage here. So it might get nerfed by 5, or the vulnerable decreased to 2 turns. But Little Peas dominating. Lotus is very good. I would like to see this back at 55, maybe even 60. That way it's more closer to like Pumpkin in terms of shields. You're removing 1 curse card from your deck, but it's a big drawback to have this in your deck. So Lucas is fine, Magic Sec fine, Mandarin fine. Probably the effect on Mandarin might have overtuned this into the grave to where Ina, I keep calling her Edna, isn't being played anymore. So it's kind of sad, right? So how can we tweak that? Maybe we make the healing on Mandarin better to counteract the side effect, the native downside, to get Ina back in the competitive scene. Magic Sack is still good but tricky because you can use Tricky to get your magic sacks back. So Mavis, I think is fine. I think, okay, this was in my notes, but I think they should make Mavis and Robin immune to poison. And I think they should also make it to where you have that one rune that makes it to where if they would lose HP, instead they gain 1 HP when they're poisoned. I think those should be applied innately to the Mavis and the Robin. So if they get poisoned, they get healed. So this would be like a direct counter to the poison teams. It wouldn't be very good against other stuff, but I think that'd be very, very fun to see that. Maybe too strong. Merry Legion feels fine. Nobody's playing it. Mint feels fantastic. 30 is a lot. Cleansers is a lot. Mosquito feels good. Navaga feels good. Nobody's playing it. Neo feels meh. Nerdy is fine. Nemo feels fine. Nemo feels fine. All the Nutcrackers feel okay. A Nyan feels very, very strong. Aranda feels very good where it's at. Poppy feels very good. Maybe 55 wouldn't be that big of a buff, but maybe 50 HP on the Poppy, just to give it a little more staying power, because we do have the nerfs on, you know, like Cucumber Slice and stuff like that. Parasite feels fine. It feels very good, actually. It's one of my favorite cards to play. It wasn't for a long time, but now that I'm getting the hang of, like, oh yeah, seeing 2 of your opponent's cards is very valuable. Peacemakers, they both feel fine. Perch, I think, needs a little bit of a buff, right? Because it's doing 120 for 2. Doing 120 for 2. The best it could have is Focus 3, which gives you 3 bonus damage. So 3 times 4 is 12. So it's giving 12 plus 120. So it's giving 132 divided by 2, which is 66 damage. That feels very weak. I think this needs to be like 33, 34 maybe. 35 might be too strong, because that would be, if we look at 35, 35 times 4, and then add 12 divided by 2. 76, that doesn't even feel that strong. Yeah, so this might be a lot better at 35, 34, somewhere along there. 5 damage would be a bonus 20 damage to the overall damage, but only 10 bonus damage per energy spent, right? This card feels very good. Being able to target anything is very strong. Pigeon Post feels fine. Pincer feels very good. I think it's fine. Pink Cheek, no changes. Piranha, no changes. Pliers, no changes. Pocky, no changes. Pagona feels fine. Post Fight feels fine. Potato Leaf, maybe they will increase this to 4 turns. Potato Leaf doesn't see any play. Puff feels very weak right now. 63 doesn't feel good. 63 damage per energy. And now with the changes on her ability, Baby, she's not getting like the 99 per energy like she used to. And because it doesn't have retain, you have to use it the turn you draw it, which oftentimes isn't the best time to draw it. Instead of waiting till you have like the double Nemo turn, you have to use it as soon as you play it, or as soon as you draw it, basically. So it feels meh. So maybe this needs an initial gain 15 HP or something like that. Puff feels fine. Pumpkin feels real nice right now. Pupae feels real nice. Puppy, heal your team. So it does 75 of healing for 1 and removes 1 curse card. I think if we want to see this play, maybe 30? That seems a little bit high. 90 healing for 1 energy, and you remove 1 curse card from your deck. I don't know. Will it push it to where it's competitive? This puppy feels, you know, whatever. Ranchu, 120. I think this needs to be 4 turns. It'd be very, very strong. Or it needs to be a little bit of increased damage, right? So problem with Ranchu is in the situation where it's like a 2v2 situation, then it's only doing 80. 80 damage per energy divided by 2 is still 40. Right now it's in a good spot if you have 3 Axies out, and it's doing 120, and you're doing 60 damage per energy, right? One of your opponent's Axie has died, then this falls off super hard. And so it feels terrible to play. Maybe this is a good target for the banish cards, you know, the small drink or medium energy drink, whatever it's called. Maybe that's a good target for those to make it that much better, and you only want to really play it once. Or maybe we see apply weak for 4 turns. Maybe that's too strong. Maybe 35 damage, apply weak for 4 turns. I don't know. It's just not there. Raven feels fine. Razorбite feels fine. Red Ear feels very good. Rice, very wishy-washy. Feels good sometimes, feels bad sometimes. Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be. The Risky Beast feels fine. Risky Bird feels fine. Risky Fish is all right. Maybe the Fear needs to last for 4 turns instead of 2. just so people start using other things other than Risky Fish, because Risky Fish is everywhere. Risky Trunk, 50 for all allies for 2 energy, so you're doing 150 divided by 2 is 75 healing per energy, which feels fine. Maybe 60 wouldn't be that big of a deal. Summon a Little Robin, like I said, feels fine. HP feels fine. I think it should be immune to poison. Ronin feels fine. I think this needs to be equal to the 50% of the attack cards. Deal bonus damage equal to 50% of the card's base damage times the number of attack cards played this turn. That way it won't work on defensive teams. So you're not turtle, Ronin. Rosa feels fine. I'm glad it has banish. It's still really annoying to play against. I think sleep is what needs tweaked. I think we should be able to use 1 energy to clear the sleep. Rosebud feels fine. Rusty Helm, 40 damage, 40 shield, 80 for 1 is fine. Sakura feels fine. Sandal. So Sandal, okay, so 105 times 1.5. So 157 divided by 2. So 78, 75. So it gets rounded down. So it's doing 78 damage if you have the trigger. And if you don't, 105 divided by 2. So you're doing 52. That feels awful. That's like playing 2 anemones, but you didn't get the 40 HP. This card needs tweak. Maybe the Apply Fear needs to be for 4 turns. I think 4 turns right here would be fine. Skelly Spear needs to be 65 damage. Skelly Spoon, maybe 60 shield. Scar feels fine. Scarab feels fine. They actually might nerf this to 55 in 4 turns. Sea Slug feels great. Sirius feels fine. Shiba feels like it's in a good place. The 4 rage might be reduced down to 3. Shiitake, I think the HP on the mushroom might be increased, maybe even doubled to 50, to where it could survive 1 random RNG attack from ear breathing, feather fan, something like that. Maybe not though, but this card I think needs some tweaking before I can see some play. Shoal Star is in a good place. Shrimp, the damage feels very weak. It feels so bad to play this. It used to feel really good, but it feels so bad to play this card. Maybe 45 is fine. Sidebar feels fine. Silence, I don't think any changes to Silence Whisper. Sleepless, no changes. Small Frill might be 4 poison to all. No more healing. I could see that. Snail Shell feels fine. Sparky, I think this should be like heal 40 or shield 40. Because this card just, I think it doesn't do enough. On turns that you draw this, like turn 1, you play this. Okay. Spiky Wing. They changed this. It now does pure damage, right? No, they didn't. Why didn't they? So I think Spiky Wing needs to go to pure damage. Sponge feels great. Sprout feels fine. Square Teeth feels great. It's in a good place. Strawberry Shortcake. I haven't seen this played at all. I haven't played it at all. I don't know if that's good. But 120 healing for 2 energy feels bad. Maybe 3 Strawberry Shortcakes and banish. Yeah, I think that might be. So 2 energy, get 3 strawberries. They all have unstable, but then the Strawberry Shortcake would have banish. Succulent feels whatever. Swallow, very, very strong card. God tier card. I think it, even though I'm saying that, it feels adequately adjusted. Swirl, I think this needs to heal more. Tadpole feels fine. Tassels, nobody's playing it, but I think this card is a sleeper. It feels fine where it's at. Till Shell, I think this 20 shields, because we don't have as much ways to combo with it. It's not great on a lot of Axies. I understand why they changed this originally. The problem is right now, if you play 2 cards and then you play this, it gets 60 for 1 energy. So it's just a medium shield. Sometimes it gives you shield for 80. But if you look at Merry Legion and Red Ear, those both already give you 80, and they have a bonus effect that you can sometimes utilize. So I think this is like, it's just not great. I don't know. It doesn't do anything by itself. It's not in a good position. I think it needs some flat built-in number and then the bonus, so you can get up to 80, 100 shields sometimes. That would make it very competitive. Telescope, fine. Last one does a lot of damage. This damage might need, it's fine, but Thorny Caterpillar on teams that it works in, it really works in. I think this is a good place for it. Timber, I think the shields might need nerfed just a little bit. Probably 65 shields. Tiny Dino, it feels fine. Maximum of 4 turns. The only problem with this, even though you have to build it up and over again, there's sometimes a bug where if you have 2 Axies that have Tiny Dino and you retain one for a long time and then you play the other one sometimes gets the benefit. I don't know if they're going to tweak that. They probably will. This Tiny Dino, dealing 15% more bonus damage. Why doesn't it work like the other Tiny Dino? Like, give it 5 bonus damage or something. Give it something. Like, make it more mimic the other Tiny Dino. I don't know. Tiny Fan, this one feels fine. Tiny Turtle, I think you should be able to clear the stun by using Burning Energy. Target the furthest enemy. Toothless, feels fine. It feels weak, but I know any additional tweaking would make this one out of range. Topaz feels really good. On decks that it's in, works really well. Tri-Feather, I think, is a very fine card. Tri-Spikes, if you have Pure Instinct and you have Focus 3, you're hitting for 28 each, and then you're getting a bonus 15% on that. So you're hitting sometimes for like 90 plus. So this card is very good on pure reptiles. Very good damage card, underrated. This could get tweaked, but does it need to? I don't think it does. Tricky, it's fine. Trump, 65 base damage, I think. Turnip's in a weird spot right now. Maybe the turnip should last a little bit longer. Twin Tail is in a great spot. Unco, I think, a little low on damage. All the cards that give a goo are a little bit low on damage, so wouldn't be surprised if this is stayed at 60. But 65 would maybe push it over the edge where it could be competitive. Walla Gecko, where it's at, it feels fine. Watering Can, I think it should be 60. Watermelon. So this is in a weird position where you don't want it to be better than it is, but at the same time you do. We could see this get a little bit of a buff to like 55 damage. Winghorn does 66 damage, gives you 2 feather, 2 self. I don't know if that's good enough to be competitive. The problem with buffing or changing Winghorn is there's a lot of them out there. Yam feels like it's in a very good spot. Zeal feels fine. Zen feels very good, actually, and Zigzag feels great at 60. It could be at 65, and it wouldn't change this card a whole lot. Go ahead and click here. Go to the second part. We'll be talking about the runes and charms that I think they should change. Go ahead and leave a comment down below of what I got wrong on the first section. Let's get into the runes and the charms. All right, so adaptive program, I haven't seen this get played at all. I did hear rumors that this is very, very good at the end of the season, so I don't think this will see any tweaking. Arcane Protection does take 5% less damage per buff on this Axie, capped at 20%. This is actually very, very easy to trigger because you can trigger it with Cucumber Slice, and you can trigger it with Pupae, and you can trigger it with Clamshell. Each one of those is one buff. You can like very easily get the 20% damage reduction. So I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's changing there. Bloodlust, I think it's a good spot. It was in majority of the leaderboard, but that's because they appropriately powered it based off its rarity. So if they decreased the rarity, they would have to tweak the stats. But they're not increasing the rarity of it. So I think it's fine where it's at, as much as it pains me to say that. Calcium Armor doesn't do enough. It does almost the same as a common rune. If you look, at the beginning of your turn, gain shield equal to 4% of the max HP. But that goes down over time, just as leftovers. So as they take damage, it decreases. So if we look at the base stat, so we're doing 320 times 0.04. So it's getting 12 bonus shield that can be stolen by a bug. Calcium Armor is not doing enough. I think it should be a flat amount. I think it should be like 20 because the rarity of it. Maybe flat 15 would be fine. But because it can be stolen and can be countered by Shield Leecher, that makes this like one of the worst runes. I did see some people playing it on Puffy, which was hysterical. So a Celestial might deal 5% more damage per buff on this Axie, capped at 20%. The problem with this one is it has a stipulation, but does kind of the same thing. If you look at Celestial Might and Arcane Protection, they both do the same thing as Raven's Tactics, just the way worse version. So just give us something that is automatic, right? Because it's like, why do I have to have all these bonus things going on in my deck just for the rune to be useful? Collect and Protect. This one is insanely good. And if people play it, this was going for like $360-ish at the end of the last season. So I don't think this is going anywhere. I think it's going to stay exactly where it's at, and it's going to be very good. Cursed Ritual. Cursed Ritual is a sleeper. A lot of people aren't playing it. I am playing it because it is very good with the right deck. That being said, it does require deck building for it to be good. Does a rune require deck building to be good? If so, is the rune bad? I think the answer is yes. Okay, so delayed protection. I think delayed protection should be when your turn starts, gain 12 shield for each attack this Axie took in the previous turn. And you're probably thinking to yourself right now, like, Dewgs, didn't you read it? RTFC That's exactly what it says. This is where you're mistaken. The way it is worded, it says when your turn starts, gain 12 shields for each attack card that was played against this Axie in the previous turn. Not every time it was attacked, the next turn, it gets 12 shield at the start of your turn. The difference is, if it gets hit with all 4 hits from air breathing, it should gain 48 shields. But instead, because that is 1 attack card, it only gets 12. That's the problem with delayed protection. So if you're using a taunt on this Axie and they play, let's say, Leafy and then ear breathing, he would get hit 7 times, right? So 7 times 12, he should get 84 shield. Maybe not. Maybe that's too strong. Let's move on. Dominant Predator. Single attacks apply bleed for 2 turns if the target doesn't have bleed and this Axie's HP is above 75%. It says deal 20% more damage against bleeding enemies. Take 10% less damage from bleeding enemies. Now, so Dominant Predator is worded in a peculiar way. So it always gets the bonus damage and the reduced damage from bleeding enemies. But it does not always get the apply bleed effect. Only if its HP is above 75%. So it's worded a little awkwardly, but this is in a very good place, I think. In this anger, it says solo, gain 2 rage when your turn starts. It says rage now grant 3 bonus damage instead of 2 bonus damage. So Endless Anger was dominating. Oh my god, it was dominating. It was like all 18 of the top 15. It was 18 out of the top 20 or something like that. At the end of the season, we're all playing Endless Anger because it is so good. So does it need tweaked? I don't know. Maybe they could change it to where every time that Axie attacks, gain 1 rage. The difference being sometimes 0 rage is gained, sometimes 3 rage is gained. I don't know. I don't know. Energy Guru, it feels fine. It feels kind of weak at 6, but sometimes it feels strong at 6. So I think it's fine. I think Feather Descend. So Feather Descend feels very good. It is solo, so I think it's appropriately placed. This rune is very good. I hope I pull this. Guy's Embrace feels good. Okay. Does it need tweaked? I think no. I think somebody sold it for like 0.43 Ethereum last season. Did they overpay for it? I don't think so. 50 is a lot. Yeah, that's very, very good. Gloomy Dice, I didn't see this get played at all. A lot of people were just breaking it down. Gloomy Dice and there's one other that people are just instantly breaking down because it was too wonky. Is it? I don't know if it's good or not. It's not seeing play. I don't think you'll see any change. Healing Pulse to 6 HP and it would be fine. It doesn't affect your Mavis and your Robin, I don't believe. But if it did, this would be very good. Heart of the Ocean, it's had too many tweaks. I think it's been memed into oblivion. Hardy Warrior, I think needs some tweaking. 5% is a lot. Maybe this should be tweaked to 4 and 2 because this is not that rare. Heaven's Echoes, 1 damage boost feels very medium. Maybe that needs to be increased to 2. I have it. I play it. It does not feel good. Holy Prayer says solo. When your turn starts, remove 1 curse from your deck. Heal all teammates for 10 HP. And grant all teammates 1 damage boost when successfully removing a curse this way. So if you don't have a curse, it does nothing. It's hard to balance that. It's hard to balance that it already being a solo. It's hard to balance that. It's hard to improve that without it being overtuned. Then again, nobody's playing Dawn, so maybe you do want to tweak it. Maybe this doesn't have to be a solo. I don't know. Yeah, maybe this doesn't have to be solo. Maybe that solo needs dropped. What would be that strong? That'd mean you could never curse your opponents, and then they can randomly heal 10 HP and get a damage boost, like so. Just means you can't put voids in their deck and goos in their deck because then they get removed the next turn. Last Stand feels good, but I think needs reworded and reworked a little bit. This rune needs reworked because too many things can kill it, right? I think it should be a brick wall. So if it drops below 1 HP, nothing can kill it for the rest of that turn. And then on their upkeep, they get a attack with it, right? I think the way it should be is if this Axie would die, instead it doesn't, and it gets bleed, right? It gets bleed and heal block. Nothing can kill it. It can't show star it. Show star it. This unit cannot be killed. And then they have to use another attack or maybe not attack it a second time. Goes to your turn, and then they can use a move on it. 1 move, and then it dies to the bleed, right? Maybe. I don't know. It feels bad. Malediction, deal 15% more damage against debuffed enemies. Take 15%. This one's nutty, and it's a good spot. Miracle Leaf feels fine where it's at. Penguin Scale, 15% less damage. Maybe this will end up being tweaked down to 12, and I don't think Penguin Scale should reduce the damage from bleed or death mark, stuff like that. It should not have reduced damage from those. Poison Touch, apply 1 poison to attacker. Take 2% less damage per poison stack on the attacking enemy. Max at 20%. This is fine. So you only need 10 poison to get maximum reduction? Poison Touch is so good. Pure Instinct, it feels fine. Pure Power, it feels fine. Okay, the big problem with Pure Instinct and Pure Power is on the secret classes, Dawn, Dusks, and Mechs. What are they, chopped liver? They should make Dawns. If they use a bird card and they have Pure Instinct, they get the bonus because they're right. And if they have a plant part, then they should be able to get the bonus from both, right? That's what I think needs changed about that. Pure Skill, it seems fine. Maybe they give us to 18%. Raven's Tactic, deal 20% bonus damage if HP is above 50%, take 20% less. This rune is very good. It's so abysmal to play against sometimes, but it's appropriate based off its rarity. So I think it's in a good position. Reckless Hunter, I think it feels fine. I think the bonus damage might have to be increased, 25, 15. I don't know. It feels like you're not really getting that much of a benefit for your guy to get 3 shots sometimes. Regenerator, I haven't seen this at all, so I don't know if that's going to get changed. This did already get changed. 35% less shield and then heals accordingly. They already did nerf this one, so Shady Exchange, that's the other one that people were immediately grinding. They didn't like it. But solo, plus 1 energy in even rounds, days, add 2 days to your deck. So they eliminated the void off this, so we'll have to wait to see what it's like. I bet it's very good without the void in your deck. Maybe this guy and in the Dawn with Holy Prayer, I think those two together. So you're like combating the effect and then getting like 30 free heal for 2 turns. Yeah, I bet that's pretty dope. Shield backup. This is so good. I don't think it stops, right? Because obviously shields don't go away when your turn ends already. I don't think they ever go away. So if you're just stacking shields on your last guy like the entire game, I think they stay. So we'll have to wait to see what goes on with this. Shield nature is very good. Stealing 50% is so I think it should copy the shields 50%. So if I have 100, it should get 50 without taking my 50. Right? Does that make sense? Just because it feels, because the way I feel that is because calcium armor. So I don't think you should have a rune that can directly counter an opponent's runes. Like imagine you have shield leecher, right? And then they have calcium armor, and then you're just like sapping their calcium armor. So that feels bad. So I think it should copy the Axie with the most shields, but 50% of it. Sturdy Fighter, single attack. I think this one's appropriately positioned in this meta. Once people start doing the double bug teams, Sturdy Fighter, triple leaf bug, then it's going to be a problem. Incubator, I think it feels fine. 14 bonus HP seems like a weird amount. Why not 16, right? Because they get drained by 8 each. So this only gives you like, what, 1.5 extra turns? It feels wonky. I think this needs buffed to 18 because it's 2 extra turns, right? In this current, it's 1.5 extra turns or something. So Vault Builder, I haven't seen this, but I've heard about it. I've heard about it being very good. So the only drawback to Vault Builder, at the earlier the game is, the worse it is. And then like turn 3, it's good. And then turn 4, it's not good. Turn 5, it's okay. Turn 6 is really good. And then turn 7, it's not good. So Venom Master, it feels weak in my opinion. I played it a couple times. Maybe it's appropriate based off its rarity, but it does feel really weak. I think 2 poison would be fine. Like apply 2 poison per attack would be fine. It wouldn't be that much stronger, I don't think. Wicked Ward is probably one of the weakest. It's up there with calcium armor in terms of like being bad. Gain 15 shield whenever you play a curse card or play a card that apply a curse. I think the problem with this, there's a lot of cards that don't count towards it. So the way I think they should change Wicked Ward is when any Axie plays a card that can add a curse to your opponent's deck. So Goda, if any of your Axies play Goda, 15 shield. We play Ear Breathing, it should get 30 shield. The number of curses you put in your opponent's deck. right? So if you put in 1 goo, you get 15. If you put in 1 void, you get 15. If you put in 4 goos, you should get 60. And I think that's how they should change this to make it a lot better. Now, Zap Armor feels awful. Deal 20% more damage if this Axie has shields, so it forces you to play like Bumpy on a mech, or it forces you to play like Leaf Bug, or like Mary Legion, or Red Ear. I don't know. It doesn't feel good. Doesn't feel good. Maybe, I don't know. It doesn't feel good. Welcome to the third section. First section is, of course, the cards, and then we have runes, and now we are in the charms section. Click down below to jump to the appropriate section. All right, so now we're going to be going over the charms. Ancient Rune, I think a lot of cards would be good with Ancient Rune, but I don't believe the drawback is already in the cost, so I don't believe reducing the card's base stat by 10% is worth it. Because if we think about how things should scale in terms of their power on their rarity, Ancient Rune is really rare. So you crafted it. That's already the drawback. So you put another drawback here. That doesn't make any sense. Same thing goes with all the other energy drinks. But energy drink adds ethereal. So right here, this one doesn't have the negative drawback. Right? That makes sense. It's rare. Okay. Charm of Power, 2, 6. I think these are fine. Power 2 for 10, but cost 3. They might have to bump this up to a 4 cost. Because when you're hitting with a Risky Fish and you have Pure Instinct and you have a Charm of Power on your Risky Fish, now your Risky Fish is hitting for like what? Like 119 or something? That seems a bit much for 1 energy. So maybe this has to go up to 4. Charm of Vitality. The Vitalities feel fine. The Charm of Vitality 3 feels fine. Mystic, the energy drink, I think these should be 3. I don't think having Ethereal or Banish are that strong. So let's decrease the cost down a little bit so they can be used on more mixed Axies. So, Beast, Charm of Power 1. Attack, those ones are fine. The attack 10, I think those need to be up a little bit to 4. The HP 12s are fine. HP 18s are fine. Ethereal, the cost is already here. In the rarity, I think 3 is fine. Multi-hit, this is fine. I think it's appropriately priced 2 for 3. So even on like something that hits for 4, you're only getting 12 bonus. So maybe that could possibly be 3 in terms of cost. Charm and Focus 2, attack 4, multi-hit. So this one right here is very rare. So maybe it's already baked into the rarity. So that's a bonus 16 damage to, like, say, Feather Fan. I guess there's not many bird cards that you can actually use this on. Yeah, so maybe these are low damage for the multi-hit factor. Power, those are appropriately powered. Bubble Paste, the cost seems appropriate. Energy drinks, they add Banish. All these are appropriately priced, I think. Earth Stamp. Okay, so because I see so many new players trying to use this for it has no benefit to most moves, right? So you see new players putting it on like every ability, and it's like you'd rather have the 4 HP runes, dude. You know, so if you are a new player, the purpose of Earth Stamp is not what you think it is. It does not supersede Taunt. Taunt is greater than a charm, right? Taunt is an effect, so that is better than the charm. Purpose of Earth Stamp is to remove RNG, as in random number generation, out of a card like Rosa, which is random, or Pocky, but it does not work on cards like Ear Breathing. And it does not work on cards like Feather Fan, because they are both multi-hit. Okay? New players? All right. Got that out of my system. These are fine. I think this doesn't make any sense. Okay, so if we look, I understand because it is not set to a specific class, but these are the same. Energy drink M adds Banish. It's 5. Energy drink S for small, for ethereal. These are silly. They're very rare, and they cost a lot, so they can't be used on Chop Suey Axe. Like, what's the worst damage they could do? What would they use it on? They could use it on, like, I don't know, a card that they don't like on the Axie, so they don't draw it. Make this cheaper. Make this 3. Make this 2. Feather Fan feels good. Flamingo Hammer is bananas, but it is very, very rare. Same thing with Hidden Razor and Gecko Mask. Those all feel great. Good position. Lazy Snail is absurdly powerful, but it is so rare that I think, I don't know if it ever got crafted last season. Leafy Pot feels very good. It feels appropriate here. Mask of Frenzy, I think maybe we would like to see these on more pure Axies, so maybe bump that up to 5. Moon Stamp feels fine, but why do we reduce the base stat? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because it's rare. It's like very rare, and it costs a lot. So we should reduce the cost a little bit or make it less rare. I think maybe not. Maybe who am I to say? Paralyzing Jellyfish is bananas. Very good. Charm of Faith 1, fine. These are all fine. All of those are well balanced. Pre-order tag. I think the rarity needs to be reduced a little bit to epic. That way we can see some more action on this card or on this charm. Red Sage, I think the rarity needs to be reduced a little bit. Reptile, these are all the reptile ones. HP and shielding, they all feel fine. Rocket Stamp, I think, is well positioned. I would like to see the cost come down a little bit so we can see it on some more stuff. We could see it on some more fun stuff. So I'd like to see this at 3 because it already is one of the rarest ones out there. And now the stipulation of having 5 is kind of abusive. So Scotch Tape, I think same thing, should be reduced a little bit here because it is so rare. It already has a drawback here. Let's make it to where we're not punishing people that don't have pure Axies. Secret Cocoon, I think the rarity should be reduced a little bit. Secret Egg is, I think, fine. Secret Spout, fine. Sticky Lizard, fine. Sticky Octopus, all those are well positioned. Sun Stamp, I think, is fine. Trickster, okay, we'll get to Trickster last, but Viper's Venom, enhanced attack card, applies to poison for 5 energy. So you're saying for 5 potential points, for 5 potential points, you're saying apply 2 poison. That is so underpowered. This needs to be this needs to be not as rare as it is and cost a lot less. This is not good. I would feel really bad if I had crafted this. Let's talk about Trickster's card. So it's 4 potential points. Enhance any skill or secret card to draw 1 card. Why the restriction? We already have 4 potential points and it's an epic. And now we can only use it on skills or secrets. Let us put it on any card. Would it be that strong? Even if you do craft one, you're probably breaking it down instantly. So it feels bad, right? We're trying to make everything appear in the competitive scene and diversify the meta. Encourage people to play. Encourage people to grind. Anyways, what do you think? Did I miss out on something? Leave it down in the comments and I'll try to respond to it. Good luck in your matches. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, Felicia. Bye, Felicia.